I think we're live. Are we live? It says we're
I don't
live.
know. Are we zombies? I mean, Veronica's listening to zombies. Why not? Why not us be zombies?
If she's listening to zombies, why did she bother turning on this shit?
Because we're old and we look like meandering corpses. I'm not sure.
Meandering corpses as opposed to real corpses.
Well,
Or not
zombies are kind of
meandering
meandering. They do a lot more wandering than regular corpses.
A lot more wandering. I like that. Instead of looking for brains and food, they're just wandering. They're just out for a stroll. Not a big deal.
I totally want to go ahead and strap a boombox to the back of a zombie and have it meandering down the road. And you got Willie Nelson on the back going, "On the road again."
There are so many better songs and situations you could have done there. So if zombies are attracted to sound, you put the boombox on the zombie and put like a fishing pole with a piece of meat on it and just have them keep walking down and all the other shamblers will follow. Is that basically the idea?
It is, and I picked that up out of a book I was listening to. It used a boombox. It didn't use any of the other of that, but basically they used a boombox to attract. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's a totally great idea.
Even better, have the boombox play Thriller. Oh, thank you, V. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. You're definitely from the MTV generation. You should be ashamed of yourself, like I am.
When did they stop playing actual music on MTV?
About 1993, 1992, when they started the spring break shit, and pretty soon it took over the whole fucking channel and ended up in reality hell.
No wonder. Well, I would say nobody watches it. Nobody worth anything watches it.
It's garbage. Didn't used to be garbage, but it is now. 1996. Thank you, V. That sounds about right. Somewhere in those 90s. I couldn't remember if it was pre-graduation or post-graduation from college.
But Veronica says that she's listening to Ravenous, a zombie apocalypse lit RPG necrotic apocalypse book.
Dear Christ. That is a hell of a long title. How do you put that on something?
You try to use words, I guess.
How would you fit that on a paperback?
I'm looking up the title of the one that I'm listening to now because I'm listening to Trojan Nightmare, which is also a lit RPG apocalypse. Apparently, lit RPG apocalypse is pretty popular.
That's what I was about to say. What is going on with all the lit RPG apocalypses?
The genre is where a lit RPG environment expresses itself on our Earth, and 99% of the population dies as a result.
Oh,
eaten by monsters, world comes to an end, that sort of thing.
Okay, so your Saturday matinee.
Something like that. I was introduced to the series to that particular genre by Tao Wong, who wrote a lit RPG, System Apocalypse, that dealt with that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
I have yet to really read a lit RPG book. I have yet to do it. I could have turned Station 20 or Station 3 into a lit RPG book, I think. I don't know. I wrote it like a game, so go figure.
Well, before we get started on anything else, I wanted to tell you my cat story.
Okay, tell me your broken cat story.
The other night, I decided that while Donna was watching television downstairs, she was watching something that I literally had no desire to watch. Whatever the show was, I've already forgotten what it was. So I got myself a bowl of ice cream, and I came upstairs to eat that. And unlike every other time that I've brought something up here, I had every upstairs cat on my desk within about 2 feet of me, just staring at me like vultures and trying to get to my bowl of ice cream. And I'm like pushing them back. I'm like, what the hell? Get away from my food. What are you doing? And finished my ice cream, went to the other room and got all their wet food to get them fed for the evening. And I realized that when I mix up their wet food, I use a bowl exactly like the one I was using for the ice cream. So all the cats were sitting there thinking that I was eating their food. They were watching their dad eat their cat food and going, the hell, human servant.
How dare you? Oh boy, you're lucky you didn't. If you had gone to sleep right then, a nap, you'd have never woken up, man. They shivved your ass while you were napping. They would have completely and totally shivved you. I'd have paid money to see that.
Too. Man,
that's harsh.
I have never seen them like vulture me before. That was amazing.
It's like every time Carrie had an olive, Frankie would just go absolutely insane. Just try and crawl in her mouth after the olives. We don't know why. She just loved olives. Finally, Carrie gave her an olive. It's like a vampire. She sucked it dry. She didn't actually eat it. She just sucked it dry.
Wow. That's kind of creepy.
It was. It was like watching a vampire go to work. It was scary. It was really scary. All right. So now you've talked about your cat. Or cats, I should say. What are we going to babble about today?
Well, you brought up an interesting point when we started talking in the pre-show that I think would be a good subject to talk about. If we only got Veronica in there, if she's the only one, we should just, tell her to turn her camera on, drag her into the conversation.
We've got 2 people watching, unless one of them's you.
I don't know. I can only see what's here. I don't see a number, so I don't know.
So, yeah, I see the number. There are 2 people out there.
It's probably the DRS account and Veronica.
Probably. Because we suck at PR.
Because even your mom has stopped listening to the show.
Oh, damn. All right. So anyway, ignore the Veronica thing. Ignore the audience. Continue.
What was it you were talking about?
All right. So you have a decision to make as a writer. If you're writing a third-person close narration, where you really only get in the heads of one character, that character can only see so much. They cannot see the events that are taking place outside of where they are and what they're doing. They can only get the the news from afar, the whole Shakespeare type thing, where the messengers come and tell them whatever. The question is, does the reader want to see those things? Because typically what we do, if that is the case, is we go ahead and write it from another vantage point, another viewpoint, and maybe intersplice it and then go back to the other scene with the character the reader has been hooked up with the entire time. What is the reader expectation? Do they expect those scenes to kind of splice things together? Or are they going to be okay getting the information secondhand? Or they're going to be okay seeing the aftermath and not necessarily seeing what happened?
It really depends on how important what's going on in the scene is. When I was writing the book that I'm currently writing, there's a memorial service. And when I was getting to that point of writing the book, I half considered not writing the scene at the memorial service. But then I decided that there was too much emotional context that needed to happen that some viewpoint character needed to be present for. So it really depends on whether or not something can be done off stage or it has to be done on stage.
Yeah, but how do you make the decision? Well, in your case, you said emotional. You wanted the emotional effect.
For me, it either has to be something that is emotional or character driven that has to take place on the screen.
Right.
Or perhaps there's a plot element that's so detailed that it must take place on the screen. If you're going to have a space battle that's important, you probably should have it on screen.
Yes, but
Just say it.
Do you have to have the monster eating the victim on screen? can you simply see the excrement and the damage afterwards and go, what the fuck?
If you have a previous scene where you cut off from the point of view from that character and they're in danger and you come back and you find bones, that works.
No, that character doesn't ever have a viewpoint, though. The character getting eaten, that is.
Then I just don't know that it matters whether it's on screen or off. I'm not sure what being on screen would actually get you.
The action, the gore, the tension,
okay, that's important
the
for that.
suspense, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, then it sounds like you need it.
But I haven't used it yet. Does that make any sense? Typically, if I'm going to do this, okay, like with the black or derelict or whatever, is I will put one of those scenes relatively early in the book to kind of prep the reader that, hey, this is how we're going to do things. You know, we got characters. They're going to be the main characters you talk to, and then we're going to have these little interludes where the you know, stuff that may take place outside of the main character's viewpoints, like AUV5. You know, things like that, where you're basically saying, okay, we got to go disembodied narrator to follow this thing around because the characters couldn't see it, but I need the reader to see it. And I guess that's really the question that comes into it. And with the black, it was very important because we're building up the suspense and tension that there's something really bad down there, and we want to let the reader give the reader an inkling of what's coming. Because we want them to sit there and go, okay, when's the explosive pack? We've seen the explosive pack. When is it going off? Kind of thing. And again, it's a function of the type of book or types of books those are, of doing those things. But I haven't done it in Oceania. And to be honest, I don't know why. And I didn't do it in Station 3 at all. And I don't know why. But what I really don't know is I don't know if readers expect it or prefer it to be one way or the other, I guess. But I don't know if that's really a fair question because, again, it depends on the book and the type of book.
Sorry, I had to make a note to myself.
You were making an awful lot of noise over there.
When you got to jot down something because you suddenly think of, oh, yeah, I should do this thing. You probably should write it down because otherwise it doesn't happen. I'm busy going through the last edits before sending book 2 and The Last Hunter off to Variant Publishing. I'll get it out tomorrow, but I suddenly occurred to me that I needed to add something to the end of the book. So I just made a note to myself.
Well, I'm glad I could give you, you know, I'm glad that my existential questions drove you to complete, you know, disengagement from the conversation so you could study your imagination for a moment.
No, you don't know how my brain works.
Yes, I do.
Words and
mine works
phrases
the same
just
way.
spark, and off that goes into the wild blue yonder, and I have to come and write down that idea immediately where it's gone.
What did I say that drove that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Sometimes knowing where the thought came from is hard.
Okay, fair enough.
If you said anything about having, you know, space in between two events, maybe that sparked it. But otherwise, I'm not sure.
Well, it's just a question of, as a reader, I'm okay with either. So either showing the off-screen action through a disembodied narrator, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with creating a character for one scene and getting in their head and watching them do what they do, and then, you know, have it move the plot forward for the other characters, even though we never see that character again. Maybe they die. Maybe they just kind of wander off. Who knows? I've done those things before, and I've done those things in multiple books. I've never even questioned it. I guess what I'm questioning is my recent habit of not doing that. I don't know
Writers
if it's
change, man.
I don't. Yeah,
Our
I know.
styles change.
I know. I just don't know if I'm hurting the story.
I don't know what actually sparked the thought I was doing there, but one of the things that I needed to emphasize that I didn't in the end of the book is a scarcity of something. And it occurred to me that I didn't actually make clear why something was done oddly. I can't be any more specific than that without ruining a plot element.
Fair enough.
But something of the conversation sparked it and was like, oh, I better make a note to go back and clarify that there is definitely a pause between doing action A and action B to emphasize that scarcity.
Gotcha.
From instance A.
Can't wait to read this book. Speaking of, I'm reading Alan Baxter's The Gulp.
Mm-hmm.
This is some fucked up shit. I highly recommend everybody go get it. It's about a town called Culpeper, which is on the coast of Australia somewhere. I don't even remember where the hell he said it was. Didn't matter. But it is like Twilight Zone meets Twin Peaks, but it makes those things look like Mayberry, which is as fucked up as it is. And the first story in the collection is just a truck driver who gets stuck in Culpeper, and then we get to see all the crazy, and we still have no idea what the hell happened. So it's kind of like setting you up to go, okay, what happened to that guy? I guess we'll find out later. But he already wrote a sequel to it called The Fall. I'm a patron of his. I haven't looked at any of that stuff, but I highly recommend folks look at that. It's some really good writing. I really enjoyed his style, and his grasp of description is fantastic. And he's a good guy. He's got a kid to raise. Go buy a book. Anyway,
you're talking about point of views and talking about the Last Hunter series. The first book I wrote solely from one character's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
The second book, since I wanted to transition from being a singular point of view to having multiples, I picked two other point of view characters, and I have a scene or chapter from the main character, then character A, back to the main character, then character B, then back to the main character. Right. So it's just bouncing back and forth. So the main character gets twice as many scenes as either of the independent characters. And in book 3, I'm going to go to the main character and 2 or 3 others all having scenes / chapters, with the others getting more scene time and the main character getting less, spreading it out so that it's like they do the Empire series now, where you've got major characters and some visiting viewpoint characters that come in for a book and then go away again.
They may come back later.
Well, they may still be there. They just won't be point of view characters.
Gotcha. Okay. That's how I would have to write, or how I'm having to write Trident Station. Actually, the first book in Gravity's Bane is called Scars. But that's pretty much how I'm going to have to write that as well, because a lot of those people on the station are never going to leave. But we won't need to see them again necessarily. But we need them there for now. So, yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah, I don't know how Veronica keeps up with all of these character voices.
I don't know either. I usually have like a list of voices for a book, so I can go play the audio files if it's a lot of characters. At first, I kind of have to do that. But as things go on, if I'm recording all at once, it's not difficult. If I'm recording 3 or 4 hour sessions a day, it's easy to get back on those voices. If you take a week off, however, that's a completely different animal.
Database and colors is what she says. I remember somebody, I don't even know who it was or even what book it was. Somebody was talking about listening to an audiobook narrated by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, dear Christ.
And he apparently did 134 characters in this book.
Holy shit.
It may have been Lord of the Rings. I don't really remember which book it was. And I was like, okay, good luck with that.
Well, okay. You think about this, though. 134 characters. How many of them are repeats? I mean,
I don't know. They won't all, I'm sure, be point of view characters, because especially if it's Lord of the Rings, it's kind of omniscient as opposed to in your head.
It's a mishmash of crazy. Veronica says, I'm going to tell you what color represents each main series character, and that tells my brain what voice to use. Interesting. I use colors in my audio.
I wonder if she's ever gone, go into recording a book and then realize in chapter in that she's been using all the character voices from a different series. And you're like, yeah, that didn't work out.
Well, V, we wait to hear. Fun with voice actors who are their own producers. Yes, yeah, that's a problem. That is a big problem. So what say you readers? Do you have a preference? Does it bother you if the action taking place is off screen and our characters have to come into the aftermath of it, or something else keeps them from being able to help out with whatever's going on? Or do you really want to see it? Rick says, I had a narrator give a character an Australian accent early enough. I think I've probably done that more than once.
Crikey.
Oh, God, do not say that to an Australian. They get really pissed.
Do they get pissed?
I watched for Oceania, since it takes place near Australia and it takes place in Oceania. And the crew is Australian that I'm dealing with. I went and looked up Australian phrases or whatever and came across this YouTube series of this Australian who teaches ESL. And he does a lot of YouTube videos on Aussie culture as well, and what to say and what not to say. He and his father got on there and they had like this 30-minute conversation of here's all the things you fucking Americans do when you come here that pisses us off.
No, Foster's is not the beer of choice.
It's not the beer of
Australia.
choice. And crikey, you say that, we're gonna slug it. I mean, it wasn't that crazy, but it was funny watching the expressions, just the rolling of the eyes, Paul Hogan, not typical Australian. Crocodile Hunter, not typical Australian. They're playing up to a role. Stop it. We're not like that.
So imagine this, if you will, in one of your books or in somebody's book out there. A group of people that are relatively isolated from the rest of whatever group of people decides to make their own persona. Internally, they behave normally. Externally, they play it up and they make it so that they seem radically different than they actually are in public.
Sounds like a pride parade.
I don't know that would have been the parallel I would have drawn here. But sure.
Or a Renaissance festival.
That's not what I mean. It's like, imagine if the Australians, being normal people that they are, but anytime they interacted with somebody from another country, behave just like Americans think they behave.
Or all worse.
Or every single one of them behave the same way.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Quick act on season.
Exactly.
No, I mean, it really is. That would be hilarious. You talk about cultural dissonance. Oh Christ! And they just make shit up on the way in, just basically completely ad lib all the crap they're saying. Give you like 14 different new words that mean nothing that you just made up on the spot. Yeah. That sounds like
keeping track of your lives would be rough.
Yeah, but typically you won't see that tourist more than like 5 minutes, and you can basically just run away from them every other time.
Then they post it on the internet, and everybody goes, "Oh, you're just wrong."
Anyway, doing that, going through that exercise of listening to them talk, the accents, and my Australian still sounds Kiwi. I don't know why, but listening to the cultural faux pas that people make because they went out and watched one of these movies and think that's the way Australians work and everything else. It is hilarious.
Can you give us an example?
Well, apart from Crikey, like
a cultural faux pas. I want to know what one of the cultural faux pas is.
Oh God, what was it? Well, first of all, if you're an American, you're probably not used to hearing the word cunt, which is basically like used as fuck over there in the same way, same frequency, I'd say.
It's like that in England too.
Yeah, and it's like that in England too. It is. So you there's like things like that are going to kind of get in your head. There's also a difference between a pussy and a fanny. Pussy's a cat. Fanny's something else.
Well, under any circumstances, a fanny is actually, the back end.
Not in England.
It's not the butt.
No.
Oh, I would not have known that.
It's a woman's vajayjay.
I see. I would have not known that.
Oh, Tony says, I've heard overly polite, formal language is assumed to be an insult in Australia. I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Rick says, watch YouTube dash cam videos from Australia to see how they actually curse. I bet.
Or read an Alan Baxter book. Alan Baxter's British, but he lives in Australia and has been there for many, many years. His son and wife there. And he has picked up on all the Aussie stuff like crazy. It's in there. It's what I can tell. It's very authentic. God, what was another?
See, though, you wouldn't know. You don't know enough about Australian
whatnot
to know if it's authentic or not.
Well, let's put it this way. Some of the things he put in there remind me very much of the YouTube videos I watched. That's all I'm going to say. Just watch for the drop bears. What the hell is a drop bear? Oh, you're talking about a koala, I assume? Is that a drop bear? I don't know what that is.
Leave it to Veronica to bring bowling into this. Here we go.
Okay, the fact that you know who that is and have heard them talk reveals a lot about you, V.
I think it does reveal a lot about her because her kids are doing bowling. So she's a bowling mom. So she's watching these pro bowlers. They're probably, trying to pick up tips from the pro bowlers. That's probably what this is.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Uh-huh. And Tony says he's reading a thing about Aussies learning another language that have formal tenses, and they immediately started using it as an insult. I think that's just Australians. Koalas. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure if they rip you to shreds unless they're trying to get away from you or confused. I don't know about this. Oh, are mythical. So the carnivorous cousin of the koala. Okay. All right. ESPN Ocho. So now I need to ask Alan Baxter about drop bears. Now I need to ask him about drop bears. I'll have to go on Twitter and talk some shit to him about drop bears. Yikes.
It's like carnivorous deers.
Carnivorous deer. Well, it would certainly change hunting now, wouldn't it?
One day you're the hunted. That's how it plays out.
Well, the hunted always becomes the hunted. Even if the prey can't kill it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I now need to heat up my coffee.
Oh, no.
I know, it's terrible. I can't get through a single show without, 2 cups of coffee. Kind of like you. Well, you get one, but still.
I don't have to worry about heating it up.
Oh, that's right. I could do that if I would pour my French press out into one of those, which maybe I should do at some point. But
I like the way Veronica put this. Were-deers, but spelling deer different. So it's like werewives. Were-deers.
Werewives?
Get it? The wife talking to you, dear, this, dear, that, get it?
So anyway.
What, no shaving jokes?
No shaving jokes. What? Must have been a very starving deer. Or that was going after the...
I'm not sure that that's the case. I think that deer might be omnivores.
I thought they were herbivorous.
They might be. I don't recall having ever seen a deer eat meat, but it wouldn't shock me if it did.
Wouldn't shock me if any animal was willing to eat meat at the end, if they were starved enough. Or maybe they got the taste of deer flesh and they're really cannibals.
Yep, there it is on the internet. Bum, bum, bum. Must be true.
I thought for sure they were herbivores. Did a short story, aliens are attacked by Australian wildlife drop bears. What the hell is a cassowary? The hell is a cassowary? I'm just gonna keep asking these questions about these strange cryptids these people are bringing up. Oh, what was the one that I was gonna say? Cannibal deer from outer space. Story idea or band name?
Yes.
I vote both. That's the name of my emo band, by the way. Cassowaries are murderous ostrich-looking birds. Wow. Wow. So we have Bigfoot and they have all this shit, is that what you're telling me?
You know, you see, Bigfoot goes down there for vacation. They can just wander around and nobody will say a word.
Koalas wouldn't eat meat. They're incapable of even being able to understand eucalyptus leaves or food if they're not prejudiced. Koalas are some dumb motherfuckers. And well, actually, they're not dumb. They're just perpetually stoned. You can't eat that much eucalyptus and not be tripping balls. It's just not going to happen. Just saying. The cassowary is real and terrifying.
Paul needs to use one in his story.
They're real? Oh my fucking God, they are. 3 species. Oh, wow. I did not know that. Ooh, and they're in the PNG. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. I wonder if they're on Duke of York Island.
They can be if you want them to be.
They can be if I want them to be, yes. Smooth-brained STD-riddled beasts. I don't know if you're talking about cassowaries, koalas, or Terry and I. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Although it could be us too, but he's talking about koalas in general.
I assume he is. I love this too. Cassowary sounds like a small British village. That's a good.
It's a long way to cassowary.
Ooh, that's bad. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yes, but I'm not.
I know, that's the problem. You're not being ashamed of yourself and shit like that. So basically, we have come to no conclusion on the whole, including.
I disagree. I think the audience is quite clear that they would prefer it to be on screen mostly.
Is that what they said?
Seeing other people comment that the comments that went by, I think the majority of the commentary was they'd prefer it to be on screen. And I kind of agree with that. If it's happening off screen, really honestly, what purpose does it serve? Go ahead and spend the extra words to go ahead and put it on.
I'm at a chapter where I have to decide if the next chapter is where bad shit happens. And well, next chapter is where bad shit happens, but I have to decide whether bad shit happens and I show it or bad shit happens and we just hear about it because we're dealing with something else. Our character is in the midst of another crisis.
Meanwhile, there's much screaming on the radio.
Yeah, pretty much. Meanwhile, get back here. We can't. We're entangled in this and fighting M2. Oh, so are we. I don't know. I had this lovely idea of someone getting infected with M2 and somehow getting overboard and eating a shark and becoming a shark.
Okay.
Well, M2 learns from what it digests, right? So if it eats a shark and decided, oh, I like this life form, what the fuck would that look like?
Dun, 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 dun.
I just imagine that thing coming after a ship, and every time you see it, it's bigger. I like that idea. I'm gonna have to do that. The Fiendlings would like it, I think. Anyway, okay, so I guess that's sort of kind of, yeah, see, that's the thing. Sometimes off-screen increases tension and creates mystery. Exactly.
In the end, you do what works. You're a good storyteller. You know what works. If you write it off screen and it just doesn't feel right, feels like something's missing, you're going to have to go back and add it.
I think I'm probably going to go ahead and write the scene just so I know exactly, what's going on. A ship full of cassowaries.
I like the original version.
Yeah, a ship full of cassowaries. That's got to be a big shit. I'm just saying.
Is a group of cassowaries called a dump? That's what I want to know. A dump of cassowaries?
A dump of cassowaries. We got a murder of crows and a dump of cassowaries. Oh, I like this. It just sounds bad. Anyway, all right. So that kind of answers that question, I guess, for me. But I didn't do that in Station 20. I keep wanting to call it Station 23,
Station
and I don't know
20?
why. Station 3, I did not do that. I'm wondering now if it hurt the book. Actually, that's another thing I want to talk about. It has been more than a month since I submitted to Sever Press.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard nothing back other than we got it. This is the longest they've ever taken to get me edits back. Not to mention,
well, it is summer there. He could be out, sail racing or whatever he does.
Well, I started wondering if it could have to, if it might have to do with COVID or, general world stuff going on right now, or maybe it's just taking long. Maybe I just suck. But no groups of cassowaries or solitary birds except when they mate. All right, good to know. The problem is, because I am so used to getting back the book faster, is I've had time to sit there and go, here are all the things wrong with this book. Here are all the reasons why it sucks. Here are all the reasons why. Fuck. So it's like the longer I have, Jesus, run. Need a comma there, buddy. The longer I have to sit on my hands and wait for it, the more anxiety I'm getting over it. And I know I have to let it go. I know you're supposed to abandon it. I know you're supposed to walk away. It's done. It's over. It is what it is. Walk the fuck away. I know you're supposed to do that. I've done this for a long time. I should know better than to hang on, but yet I'm hanging on.
I can't tell you not to, because you're not going to listen to me. Oh, excuse me. You're going to listen to me. You're just going to ignore me and do it anyway.
It's not even ignoring you. It's me coming back and gnawing on it. It's not like I'm trying to do that.
What brings you back? Why are you circling back to it?
Because of problems like this, where I'm sitting there going, did I hurt the book by not including that? Did I hurt the book by not including this? Did I hurt the book by not including whatever?
The story is what it is. We are imperfect human beings. Nothing we ever do will be perfect. And you know exactly what I'm going to say. You've got to go ahead and force yourself not to dwell on it.
Too late.
You can't help if you're going to think about it, but when you find yourself thinking about it, move on. Think about something else.
Drew, you are so fired. You must be an editor's nightmare. Fuck, he's missing 42,000 commas. God damn it. He's even missing commas in his 42,000.
He's the kind of guy that Grammarly just gives the money back to.
The AI looked at your work and had a seg fault.
They sent him a t-shirt that said, I crashed Grammarly.
There you go. if you've crashed Grammarly lately, you might be Drew Bernardi. Take a bow, Drew. You've created the new anecdote for us. God. So yes, I know I'm not supposed to hang on to it. I know I'm not supposed to dwell on it. I know I'm supposed to abandon it. I know I'm supposed to walk away from it. I know all of those things intellectually. I know it emotionally. I know it in my bones. But there's always a fucking but, because there's all these things I could have included.
Dean Wesley Smith calls that critical voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we let the adult into the room when we're creating, instead of the 4-year-old that's doing the creation when we're writing. And what the critical voice adult wants to do is to protect you. It thinks that's what it's doing in protecting you. Oh, you can't do that. That's a terrible thing. We've got to save you from the consequences of what you're doing. And it's a trap. It's a big trap that you have to find a way, whatever that way is, to learn to not listen to the critical voice. It has no place in a creative's career. It really doesn't. Fixing those type of things is the province of editors saying there's something wrong that needs to be corrected. Don't internalize it and say, oh no, I need to change everything that I just did.
Well, here's the thing. I've been thinking more and more about this last week. I began to think that I need to let my books rest. In other words, after I finish them, after I, write the second draft or whatever. Yeah, I know that feeling. Speaking of not being able to let go, you're rewriting the same scene 800 times. Some authors will sit there and they finish the book. They toss it in the shelf in the drawer for, months, sometimes years actually. And then they'll come back to it. And when they come back to it, they've got a different perspective on it, and they're able to see it more clearly. And then it's the time when you can add stuff, cut, change, whatever, with a little more confidence, because you have had time to rediscover the book, go over all the details again so they're not fresh in your mind. And while you're letting that book rest, you might get ideas for stuff to go. So I know that is how writers like Stephen King do it. I know that's how John Irving does it, and several other authors. They're not indies, obviously. The problem is I have this publisher perish mentality, because I'm running out of content for the podcast. I want to rush things. If my royalties are shit, I need another audiobook. I have to rush that. So I don't think I'm really giving my books enough time to breathe before I go through the next edits and then, ship it off to the beta readers. It's just something I'm really thinking maybe I need to do with the next one. Yeah. See, Rick, same problem, same exact problem.
One of the things you were talking for your podcast, the serialized book that you're doing for your podcast,
mm-hmm.
There is a difference between the never-ending serial and a novel.
True.
You can't let it sit in a drawer.
No.
You've got to to just commit to a plot line and run.
I wasn't talking about putting Oceania in a drawer. I was talking about putting Station 3 in a drawer, or putting Gravity Spain in a drawer, or Signal Decay, or Quantum Personality Disorder, whatever the fuck it is. These other books that I'm writing. Oceania, no, I don't have time for that shit. I've got to basically focus on one chapter at a time, string along the plot, and it's a bitch at times.
How much of a cushion do you have?
Right now?
0.
1 episode.
Oops. Yeah, that's not enough.
1 unrecorded chapter. So that's why this week, Friday was supposed to be the day where I got all my shit done. I was going to write in the morning and then record and get everything done so I could fuck off last night. And instead I spent 6 hours on bug fixes and feature requests for the client. So fortunately that was paid work, but still it fucked up my entire weekend.
See, you're a writer with a day job, and that complicates what you do.
I wouldn't call it a day. Well, All right, fine. I have podcasts as a day job. I got Patreon as a day job. I got Ko-Fi, Buy Me a Coffee. I've got this. I've got the books, the writing, obviously.
No, some of those take up more time than just Buy Me a Coffee. I'm not saying that your day job is something. I'm saying it's a completely different endeavor that you pursue pretty much full time. So that's the equivalent of a day job.
Yeah, more or less. I got into a really good routine this week until yesterday of writing for like 2 or 3 hours in the morning, getting 500 word sprints done, and it was working really well. I was able to just bang out 2,500 words, 3,000 words in like an hour or two. And it was wonderful. And then I would go work on something else. One day, I think I did 5,000 on 3 different books. I may have an attention span problem. I may have developed
ADHD much?
I may have developed an ADHD problem. Or it's the typical thing. I focus on a book when it catches me. There's some point where a book takes off, where it spreads its wings and starts to fly. And I think that is the point where my brain goes, I can't let this go. We have to finish this story. And some books I feel that at the beginning, and other books it takes till halfway through the swampy middle to get that rush, have that experience. I don't know. And which putty is this?
This is Thomas.
Thomas. Hello, Thomas.
He's not much for being held, but he'll occasionally let me pick him up and hold him.
Oh. So he's
only about a year old, so he's very excitable.
He's a youngin'. Gotcha.
He's one of the visiting kittens that ended up staying.
Right. Oh, poor Porty. Yeah, he is. I still think with one of these longer books, I think with the Suits novel I'm writing, I think that one's going to rest. Because it's different than anything I've written before, and I think it is probably going to need to rest quite a bit.
The only time that I allow any rest in my writing process is the part that is at the beginning of the book that I'm not there. I'm a linear writer, so by the time I get to the end, then I cycle back to the beginning and start reading. But it's been a month and a half, thereabouts, since I've done anything with the beginning of the book. So by that point, the front of the book is fresh to me. Things happen there. I go, oh, I don't remember doing that. Okay. But I don't wholesale add and delete things like you do. I write the book as it is, and that's pretty much everything after that is refinement.
I have false starts, false middles, false endings.
You have a false novel, you get to the end, you go, fuck that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I've got some of those too. I don't have to publish everything I write. Fuck you. There are some things you don't want to read. Trust me.
Are we starting to delve into Paul's, homegrown erotica?
No, something much darker. Anyway, my inner thoughts. You don't want to know that shit. Anyway, what the fuck was I going to say? The resting part, I think if you have a really complex book, I think is probably a good thing. I mean, what you do is working for you. What I'm doing has been working for me, but I'm not satisfied with it. So I want to try with the next, with the Suits book I'm writing, because it's not. It's about a veteran coming home from a war, and 50 years has passed since he left. But only like 4 years have passed for him. So he's coming back to culture apocalypse. Everything has changed. And then on top of it, they treat him very, very differently because of what kind of soldier he was. So there's a lot of different things going on there. There's going to be flashbacks to stuff from the war, because there has to be. There's going to be, talks about that, but most of it is going to be human interaction. I think that book is probably going to have to rest when I'm done with it. Probably. And I've then sure enough, strangely enough, this is my third attempt at writing this book.
So you say that you've become dissatisfied with your process. What incremental change could you make that you think might help address some of the dissatisfaction?
Waiting.
You think intentionally adding in wait time?
Yep. I think that's going to make a better book. For me, I think that's going to make a better book. I won't rest on Oceania because I can't. If I end up writing Signal Decay as the next book after Oceania, or while I'm writing Oceania, I don't know that I will let that one rest. I don't know. Suits is the Suits book, which still doesn't have a name. I'm kind of fucking around with Suitless as a title, kind of a working title. But
Captain Underpants?
Not quite. Not quite. I'm not sure how I want to do that. And of course, we're sitting here talking about it. The book's not fucking written yet. So who knows what I'm going to do when I get there. I just think it's going to need more rest time than maybe Signal Decay. But I think Signal Decay will probably benefit from that, because now all these things I wanted to do in Station 3 that I thought about, it's like, God damn it. Why didn't I go ahead and do that? I would have been there 20,000 words of crazy. Fuck it. It's done. I know it's done. I have to abandon it. I get it. Still sucks.
Well, I don't know that that's going to work out for you. I'm going to be the curmudgeon in this and say that I think you're using that as a crutch.
Oh, damn. You went there? God.
I did, because I'm a friend and I have to tell you when I think you're making a bad decision. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to end up doing what you want there, and maybe it will work out for you. But I'm very much afraid that you're giving the critical voice more of a wedge to make you question your own work.
So what else is new? The big thing with the thing that ticks me off about Station 3 is there are things that I've been thinking about that are plot holes. And I think if I had spent a little more time in the book, or giving it another week or two to rest, I would have found those and plugged them. None of the beta readers. Yes, the clocks in the U.S. have gone forward. It sucks. I just think giving it a week or two off probably would have given me alternatives to those. None of the readers complained. No beta reader has complained. But still, I think there are
they didn't complain, you don't have a problem. Oh, actually, that's not true. You do have a problem. Its name is Paul Cooley.
Oh, damn. There you go again.
I'm not trying to be harsh, but I'm saying you're being overly critical of yourself. And I'm going to keep saying it every time you go down this path, that you're being too hard on yourself, man. You're making this harder than it needs to be.
It should be easier by now. It's just a matter of it depends on what kind of book it is. I don't know. I'm going to see what that works with Suits. I think Signal Decay has been around so long in my head that when I finally sit fucking down and make it work, that story is probably going to just vomit out without too much work.
And splatter across the page.
Splatter across the page, because we did things. Oh. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Oh, yes, Matt. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying Handley 5. I did what I do, Terry.
JR met an end.
I did what I did. I did what I do. I mentioned an event multiple times through this book that sounds like it was crazy, whatever it was, and mentioned some details. And I fell in love with this character so much that I want to write that book, which is a prequel to this book. Or at least a novella.
You ever thought about having to write a prequel to a prequel? You write a prequel novel and you go, oh, but what about this other thing?
Yes, I have actually. When in doubt, drop a building on them. Yeah, that was pretty much Handley 5. Station 3 has what's called emergency engineering teams, and they're essentially walking around in augmented suits. So think mech light. And they go in to solve massive issues with facilities things like, rebuilding nuclear reactors on the fly, fixing structural integrity problems, things like that. So buildings do fall on them occasionally. Short story collection. Yeah, that's another thing. I'd like to do another EET story, even if Zilf isn't in it. But I really like Zilf. Really like Zilf. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Matt.
What about writing a series that's only prequels? How awkward would this be? You write a book, then you only write the one that comes before it, then you write the one that comes before it, then you write the one that comes before it, and you're only going the opposite direction from a linear story. That is really brain damaging. Thank you so much for that, Tony.
That sounds like such an art book. That is the kind of bullshit some asshole would do. It's writing a thesis or MFA. So basically it'd be like a Memento, right? You're going backwards. You're seeing the whole thing backwards. You see the conclusion before you see all the other events that led up to it. Got it. I guess I'm kind of doing that with Derelict Saga and Dr. G. And then they want me to write a Mira book. So yeah, I'd be kind of doing the same thing.
It is something that Charles Stross would try.
Who's Charles Stross?
He wrote the Laundry Files.
Okay, you mentioned that before.
Personally, though, the book, I like the Laundry Files. They're okay, but I like his family business books more, and I'm sad that he ended that series because I always thought that was awesome.
Family business?
People that can travel between universes.
Okay.
The people from this other universe, they decide that even though they're in a basically medieval, just barely post-medieval society, they find a way to travel to our universe. So they make money by using that traveling ability to transport drugs safely from one place to another.
Oh.
Basically, they pick them up in Colombia, go to their own universe, travel to where Chicago would be in our universe, and come back over with the drugs. Let's not mention when they stole the portable nukes out of the U.S. facility and started using them.
That's a problem.
That was a problem, and it caused much havoc.
Wait a minute. You read this guy, and he wrote a book series in second person?
This one wasn't in second person.
But you read this guy, he did that, and you're still willing to read him?
I'm willing to go ahead and watch actors in movies that do terrible things off screen because I separate, their second personness from their on-screen presence.
Their second personness.
Matt says that's good 4D thinking. The elevations are occasionally different on the other side, so they sometimes have to build what do you call it?
Scaffolding?
Scaffolding, that's it. On one side or the other, so you can transfer across without falling. So the first time you come across, it could be awkward.
But what if you're coming in from lower?
Apparently you can't transition into an object. So it just doesn't work.
Okay, so you have to
trees,
go higher.
Hills, doesn't matter. You can fall, but you can't appear inside something.
Huh. Okay, fair enough. Oh, that's interesting. Second person novel series is supposed to be a trilogy, but Snowden leaks ruined the plot.
Sometimes reality is too close to fiction. I heard somebody else, who was it? I can't remember. It may have been SM Sterling. I'm not sure. That said, somebody asking me about some of the ridiculous things that are going on in the real world and if he could write anything about it. And he said, fiction has to make sense and have some realism.
Exactly.
Reality doesn't.
This is, this time period we're living through the last 4 or 5 years has just been fucking bonkers. And nobody believed this shit. Oh, Matt says, just watch today's episode of Picard and a guy transported in a couple of feet out and got dropped off a building.
See ya!
If only I could do that to Putin. It was a 5 minutes into the future style setting. Okay. All right. I gotcha. Incidentally, I think I mentioned it once before, but there's a movie called something like Glimmer Lake, something like that. It's on Netflix, Shimmer Lake. which I really recommend if you want to learn how to tell a story backwards. It's very much Memento style, and it works just beautiful. It was awesome. Nobody would have picked up the 2020 series if it was pitched in 2015.
You know, somebody else on the internet said, you know, it's like the last 2 years. You know, you talk about history repeating itself. I didn't expect the 20th century to repeat itself in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it went from 1918 to 1932 pretty fast. And not to 1938. Yeah, wonderful. Fuck this century. Fuck this century. I'm tired of it.
The way things are going on in Ukraine, we may end up with a DMZ there too, you know. So you could have the Korean War.
Oh, don't go there. Just shut up. Let's talk about something else instead that we can actually control. Like V.
I hate to tell you this, but there's nothing in this world we can control.
Look, goddammit, when I'm writing, I have complete control. One of my voices.
Do you now? When I'm writing, the characters are doing weird shit. It's like I'm writing the after action report after the fuck up.
What I said was the voices know what they're doing. I don't. I just transport what they say. You know, that's all I know. Oh, yeah. This is hilarious. I heard this this whole thing, Sims R Us. Somebody was like, okay, well, if the world's a simulation, we're currently being transferred to a new storage area and things are kind of fucked up.
I saw a fake tweet from Activision that said, we wanted to apologize to our players for using Russia as the opponent in Call of Duty. If we'd have known the truth, we'd have used an actually competent, a more competent military like Cuba or Laos.
Yeah, I saw that. Was like, ow, damn.
I was told it wasn't true. But by God, it should have been.
I saw the meme. I saw the meme and went, I know they didn't say that, but holy shit, that's hilarious.
I think they should have said that. That would have been hysterically funny.
Oh, this is bad. Drew says he gave out a bunch of copies of his book about a violent tornado at night to his wife's coworkers. Later that night, a violent tornado hit the state, ending about a county to the west. God.
It's coming for you.
That's not good. That's not good. Art imitates fiction, imitates life. Is that what we're going for here? Pretty much. Terrifying. Yes. Well, that was the Chinese curse, right? May you live in interesting times.
I'd prefer to live in boring times. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be my option.
I would love to live an exciting life during boring times, not live a boring life during exciting times.
C.S. Lewis said something to someone in a letter that was complaining about the Cold War and the threat of nuclear death. And he said, you just have to understand, your fear right now is death from nuclear weapons. But in any other point in history, you would have feared the Black Death. You would have feared these other things that could come and kill you.
You would have feared the moon, the sun, meteorites.
Well, there were other forms of mass death that came around that you had no control over. And this is just the newest of the new.
Yeah, it's the fact that you know about it and the intricacies of it.
Anything that's a threat, our bodies, our brains are wired, and can sometimes get screwed up. The more you hear about a threat, the more priority you put on the threat than it may actually have.
Yeah. I was never really panicked about nukes flying. It was one of those things where if it happens, I'm not going to be here. I'm very close to Houston. I will be dead in a second. It's not going to be a problem. So it just never really bothered me. That part didn't bother me. There were other things that bothered me, but not that. Yeah, boring times, but exciting books. That's more my speed. I'll live on the edge through others. Oh, yeah, this is a good one, too. Living in these times can test the limits of one's medication.
We need a better class of weed, man.
Oh, isn't that the fucking truth?
We live in Cheech and Chong level medications.
We live in Cheech and Chong times.
I want to roll down my window and have the smoke just roll out of the car.
Yeah, I want to do a Jeff Spicoli scene at some point. I assume that's what you're referring to. Or were you referring to Cheech and Chong?
I was referring to Cheech and Chong. There's been times when they've rolled down the van window with a cop there, and it's just like a wave of smoke coming out.
I was thinking of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where they open the van and Spicoli just tumbles out. Everybody's just huge fog of pot comes out of there. They're all just completely ripped out of their minds. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Yeah. Oh God, you had something else you wanted to talk about.
Do we remember what it was? Because I don't know that I do.
It was something else to do with POV. I don't remember if we covered it.
I had already talked about how I was switching from one book to the next.
Yeah.
And I think that may have been it.
I have a question for you. Did you
All right.
hear anything strange in publishing news the last week or two?
I heard that a bunch of low-end editors have started quitting in big publishing because they're completely tired of the workload and the low pay.
I saw a few tweets this week about agents and publishers and something going on where it seems like the publishing industry is stalling out on books. They're taking longer and longer. Right?
This is what I'm talking about, is a bunch of the lower end agents and a bunch of the lower end editing staff are getting fed up with the low pay and high work times and the slowness of what they're doing, and they're leaving the industry. So that meshes in just fine with what I was reading about.
Okay. I also read something about several small presses went bye-bye.
That I had not heard.
I don't have any details on that. Fuck.
It can happen.
Yes, it absolutely can. It absolutely can. I just thought it was interesting because somebody was like, I just got an agent. Now I'm being told good luck getting published. It may take 4 years for your book to come out. That's not good.
It's not good, but it is traditional publishing.
It's just a question of things really gotten that bad. They've managed to get worse.
And they're going to continue to get worse because traditional publishers aren't in the business of publishing new fiction. They're in the business of making whatever they can get their hands on into tax breaks that they can use to offset their expenses for the big corporations that own them.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
That's what they're doing, man.
Fuck those people. Anyway,
Amazon bought MGM. It finalized this last week.
Oh.
Now they got the Bond catalog and all the rest of whatever MGM was doing.
We really are going to live in a world where there's only one corporation, and it's Taco Bell.
Yes. I want to have Taco Bell as my publisher.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, they are coming out with their horror burrito line, although I would say that's their regular burrito line, just with more diarrhea. But just there.
Somebody posted a picture of their they've got one of the watches or something that monitors their sleep. And they said, I'm getting too much information from my app. And it said 20 something, you farted. Yeah, that may be a little bit too much information from my sleep app. Or it could be, like Deadpool and Chimichangas.
Oh God. Matt says any business is just in the business of making money. That's why it's a business. Yes and no, because if you fuck yourself, which American corporations have been doing since the 1980s and the rest of the world is doing now, by only focusing on short-term gains, you are fucking yourself long-term.
The thing is, traditional publishing is focusing on the intellectual property that they're acquiring and using it as a tax write-off. Because it's worth far more money than they're paying out.
Just sad. Just sad.
And with the way that they're not spending the money on authors, they should not be surprised when the quality of their publications continues to go down and when they don't pay their editorial staff for the work that they're doing and everybody quits.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of new freelance editors showing up on Twitter. I guess this has something to do with that.
Welcome to the indie world.
Where we pay by the hour. Oh, fuck. This industry is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. It's like the music industry's fucked up. This is really fucked up.
It's two different industries.
Oh, yeah.
Traditional publishing is nothing like indie publishing. Nothing like it at all. They are just two radically different environments.
Yeah. Yeah. They are.
You know, we started out as indie publishing being the counterculture to traditional publishing. And somehow we got to be more successful. As an industry, not as an industry, individually
yes.
necessarily.
Well, I mean, it's like, podcast fiction was an outlier for a long time. And now the New York Times says, oh, it's a new thing. It's like, no, motherfucker, it's been around a long time. The bottom line is, though, that indies have continued going places where the bigs will not go. And the process have brought more folks along.
And indies are nimble. We can get there faster. Oh, look, Apocalypse RPG, lit RPG is a big thing. There we are.
Yeah, pretty much. Not having a long-term plan is bad business. You need other things to make your business work long-term, but it comes down to money eventually or it doesn't survive. Very true, which is why you have to be able to pivot. God, I love that word. To handle new technologies and everything else. I don't believe in having a long-term plan because most plans, even a yearly plan, if you worked at a corporation, gets blown up in a quarter, maybe two.
How far do you plan ahead?
How far do I plan ahead? I plan ahead 5 minutes from now. What the fuck are you talking about?
With doing the writing that I'm doing with Variant Press now, I'm having to plan ahead further than I've ever done before. I know what I'm doing for the next 3 books. Next 4 books.
Right. I have, but
I even have deadlines.
Yes, you do. And you're also writing series. I'm not writing series right now. So it's a different animal. I have yet to, apart from Oceania, I have yet to find the book that's catching my attention. Everything's catching my attention. Like I said, at some point, one of these books is going to take off, and then it's going to be, Paul does nothing but that. Yeah. Right. They do generate goodwill. That is correct. And thank you. I'm glad we generate goodwill. I'm glad we're somewhat entertaining occasionally.
As we shake our fists at the sky.
Isn't that what old men do?
That's what old men do.
I'm just sitting on our porch. Terry said during the pre-show he hasn't been able to go outside and read or write because it's been cold. I reminded him that there's these things called clothes he should try wearing, but since he only writes naked outside in a hammock, I can understand how 40-degree weather might make some shrinkage happen and make it difficult.
Makes for smaller books is what you're saying, right?
Shorter, more wrinkly. Even rugose.
I see. I prefer to take my relaxing time. Well, you can interpret that however you like. Sitting out on the patio when it's warm. And, when it gets to be 100 degrees down here, clothes may be relatively light.
You can only get so naked. That's what you learn if you live in the South. You can only get so naked. That's why I'd rather live where there's more of a temperature differential, because I like, I'd rather have clothes on and not be sweating my balls off. Turning that ball butter. Ah, yes. Veronica says she's planning 6 months ahead because people are asking her for auditions, which is
she's going to hit it big, and pretty soon she's going to be scheduled for 4 years in advance.
That would be a tough That'd be a tough thing to do. Talking about long-term plans. Holy shit. Nah, that won't happen.
She's a lot more organized than I am. Spreadsheets,
She kind of has
color
to
codes.
be. She
Holy
kind of has
cow.
to be. Look, you work for yourself pretty much. She's working for other people.
What
Totally
she
different.
does is a lot more detail oriented than what I do.
Yeah. And even what I do. Let's see. I have a sort of plan for this book, loosely assembly of squirrels for the next book. And after that, I know that other things will hopefully be written. That sounds like me. Oh, God. In the UK, I don't think we actually get naked weather, especially not in Wales. I imagine in Wales, you have to have a lot of back hair to handle the cold coming off the ocean. Shit. Oh, yeah, I could see that. There's another thing. After mental health pandemic wrecked things for 2+ years, consider any written word a victory. Yes, definitely.
I can say that as a full-time writer, my world almost didn't change very much because of COVID. I was already working from home. Writing's already a solitary experience. It changed some things, but I know that it affected me a lot less than it affected a whole bunch of people. I'm not exactly, I don't have a lot of personal friends that I get social with here in person.
Terry doesn't have a life. He's a house cat.
I don't have a life.
He's
I'm
a
just
house cat.
Yeah, sure.
You are a house cat.
Some of us appreciate sunlight.
Matt says we do sheep and rain well, but that's about it.
Sheep and rain do not mix.
And the language doesn't help either. Welsh bikers are pretty much the Klingons of the UK.
I watched Uncharted, and it wasn't Welsh. I will admit that. But in the movie, they had a Scottish guy whose brogue was so thick, he threatened the main character, and the main character's like, "What did you just say?" Had no idea. Could not understand a word.
I write software for a living. It's like I was preparing for COVID all my life. Yes, exactly. Oh, this is good too. Tony says 6 months into the pandemic, I realized that my day-to-day had only changed in how often I use sanitizer.
I want to read this book. Somebody make this happen.
Matt, that is the book you need to write, Bubba. That's money. Especially if you write all their dialogue in Welsh.
Okay, now here's what I want to go ahead and bring out to you there. Some of, the names in Welsh are really long, but if you look at fantasy novels, they've got these long, obnoxious names. So you would have to have names that are really, really long, like 2 lines on the page, 3 lines on the page.
No. Why would you do that to your reader? Why in the fuck would you do that to your reader?
Why would fantasy readers go ahead and name something ridiculously long?
I have never understood that. Why do I need a fucking, 14 words to describe this one thing? Oh, it's the ever-enchanted spiritual armor of Gwendolyn the Fae, whatever the fuck. It's like, what? It's a piece of magic armor.
I totally want that to be a character's name. Gwendolyn the Fae, what the fuck?
Drew says he had a rough time during the pandemic, got off old ADHD, had to go without meds. Okay. I can understand that. Like Yuda's name. Yes, why would you do that to your narrator? Why would you do that to your narrator?
And yeah, Yuda's name, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. I will never know how to pronounce his name. He pronounced his name for us multiple times. There's no way we could get it. So Yuda works fine. Wasn't Tolkien's Elvish half based on Welsh?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't really know.
I have no idea. I hadn't heard that. Could be possible. I don't know. Ah, here we go. I don't need a long name or made-up language to torture my readers. Cliffhanger and doing horrible things to likable characters does the job. A fucking men. Cliffhangers, complications, and awful things makes good fiction. Just my standpoint. Have you ever heard Welsh, Terry?
I know that I have, but I can't remember it. It's like the magic words that go in your head and then exit without leaving any trace.
I honestly don't think I could pronounce like maybe 90% of their vocabulary. I don't think my tongue will even make those sounds.
I totally want to go ahead and see a fantasy novel written with Louisiana swamp guys.
Cajun
some
style.
Cajun guys.
Oh boy. Oh, Kunas dialect is taking over.
Yeah, they don't have the gators eat you. They have the dragons eat you.
No, they're raising alligators, man. They're flying alligators. Ooh, how terrifying would that be? A flying alligator. Think of that shit for a second. Some syllables actually include spit and Welsh. Yes. Blackadder season 3 has a whole thing about that. Baldric is like, he is the Prince of Wales. And Blackadder looks at Baldric and says, "You ever been to Wales, Baldric? It's full of, what do you say, drunken, sinewy men terrorizing the landscape with their off-key singing." You need, what do you say? You need a mouthful of spit just to pronounce the place names. There you go. There you go. I'll send that one to Charlie. Actually, Terry, you need to tag him on Facebook and say we have a story for you. Flying
fantasy
alligators.
Story. Instead of dragons, it has to be flying alligators.
Flying alligators. That says nothing has changed.
Lord of them there gators.
Oh my God. Oh.
It's Smug, the flying alligator.
Smug, not smog. Oh,
not
I like
smog,
that. Not smog, smug. Oh. Is there a Tolkien estate that can
he's
sue
a
you?
little bit, self-centered. Smug the alligator is.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Smug the alligator. I like that.
We have really gone off the rails. So I think this is the appropriate time to have the audience start throwing questions at us to just completely drag us off the rails at this point.
Are you saying we need help?
He said Tiger Kind, but he meant Tiger King.
LOTTG?
You know what my problem is? It's Smog, that big Smog.
What is LOTTG?
Lord of the Rings?
No, that's LORTR. LOTR. LOTTG?
Lord of the Gators.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's
Lord
right.
of the Gators.
Lord of them there gators. Gotcha, Drew. Gotcha, Tony. I can totally see that too, yes. There's a hole in the armor. Chewed it. Like Matt says about the show, there were rails. Yeah, a third rail. The show is just the third rail.
Yeah, pretty much the show goes down the third rail. We don't really, hit the sides too much.
Oh, yikes. Anyway, yeah, questions, comments, complaints. Besides the fact that Paul has been very slow in kicking out episodes.
We've read Board of the Rings. I could totally read Lord of the Gators. I think that would be awesome.
You've read Board of the Rings?
Haven't you?
Board?
Yes.
No.
It's a spoof of Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
I actually think that it may have just been a spoof of The Hobbit,
fantasy
but I'm not sure.
okay.
It's been a long time since I read
it. Matt says he still just wants Henley 5. I think I'm probably going to write that book, Matt. I think I am probably going to write that book. I really do think I want to, because I want to see Zilf again. I just love those characters. Just love those characters. Yeah, which is why I did such horrible things to them. A killer tabletop RPG game, Lord of Them There Gators. Wow, that actually would make a decent one shot for so many different games.
There's one of the companies that I buy RPGs from. They have a game line called No Thank You Evil. It's a kid's game.
Okay.
So it's like, no thank you, evil. I have no idea what it's about, but it sounds pretty funny.
That says, and if that's what you do to characters you love. Yeah, characters I dislike, I do even more awful things too. Oh, what would be the class? What would the classes be in this alligator LOTTG?
Is Kunas a class?
No, Kunas is more of a race.
Okay. Before we get any further in this, we love Cajun people. Yes, we love people from Louisiana. We have no animus toward them.
No, we're just Texans.
We're just Texans. It's like the Army. You talk shit about the people that you like.
I don't know. Oh, that wouldn't sell well in Wales. There we go. Yeah, that's classes. Gator Wrangler, Toad Gigger, Swamp Wit. Yeah, I like that. Swamp Boatman. Yeah. Meemaw. Oh, I love the Meemaw. I love the idea of like the 65-year-old with like,
it's like the sage class, but,
14 cigarettes hanging out of her mouth while chewing tobacco, singing a song, carrying a shotgun and shooting the gators. I love this idea. I love this idea. It just sounds like a whole lot of fun. Meemaw.
Talking about role-playing games, the guys that wrote Fallen Ruin, Nick Cole and Jason Aspinach, I'm not sure if I'm not pronouncing his name right, created an RPG. They're doing a Kickstarter right now for Fallen Ruin as a role-playing game system.
Okay.
Just thought I'd throw that out. It's like the third or fourth different author that I know that's created an RPG system for their books. It seems to be a thing.
Station 3 could be a video game very easily. And emergency engineering teams, that would be a really good RPG set too. Because I've already got the classes. You've got a scout class, you've got a medic class, you've got a heavy class, and you've got the ultra heavy class. So that would be, those are actually the classes for EETs. That would actually make a decent deal, because then you could come up with all sorts of environments. The suits could get tricked out in different ways. I still love the idea of a video game based on Station 3. I still love that idea. Drew says the readers are absolutely hate me for the things I did in between Cone of Silence and the sequel I'm working on. They pestered me for a sequel. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, pretty much. Be very careful what you wish for. Oh, come on. The DM as Meemaw as the DM. Come on. Oops, wrong one. The DM has to be Meemaw. That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
Matt says Station 3 felt like Doom to him.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Far drier. You mean in the tone or the fact I didn't include nearly as much gore? Having one shot based upon your series could be a really good way to promote the books at convention. Yeah, absolutely it could. And I think I mentioned this. I did have somebody contact me about trying to turn Soul and Beyond into an RPG. Because folks really like the setting, they like the tech, and they really like the idea of Mira. Going aboard Mira and writing an entire campaign around exploring Mira, which would be cool. Oh, Station 3 had far more water. Yeah, it kind of did. There's a lot of water. I would love to do that. I would love to have the time and energy to create an RPG based on some of these things that I do. Like Soul and Beyond would make a good one, especially with the the stuff going on Earth, the stuff going on Mars, the stuff going on at Trident, the stuff going on with the AIs, the collective, the exosolar threat. You've got so many different things you could do. That would be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun. It would take way more energy and knowledge than I have. I'd rather just sell it to a game company and say, go crazy. Opening your setting as lore. Yeah, I mean, some folks do that. I mean, that's also putting it out there where you invite other writers into your world. You're basically,
or even you don't, turn your nose down at fan fiction in your world.
Yeah, fan fiction, same kind of thing. Thought Miro would have been great in VR. VR done badly can be very disorienting and make you actually sick. Yes, that would be dangerous. Very. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is something to talk about, Terry. Tony says, what?
GRRM finished something? When did that happen?
Let me explain.
Oh, okay.
Tony says, like how George R.R. Martin wrote the lore for Elden Ring and the story itself is handled by the game writers. Okay. What he's talking about is a game that's made by From Software in their Dead Souls, Bloodborne kind of area, what they do, which you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Truth.
Basically, these are really, really difficult games with fantastic visuals, great sound effects, and you have pick up story and lore along the way of going through and killing all these bosses and doing all this other bullshit. We'll get to that in a minute, Tony. So what they did is they rather than hiring him to create the story and write the story, they hired him to create the world. So he built the world, focused on the lore, and then the actual game writers worked on the story. And that's how that worked. So doing it that way, that got basically his brain to go ahead and develop this crazy shit that everybody's really enjoying from the reviews I've read. But the actual writing was done by other folks who are used to writing for video games.
50 Shades of Black, the Frying Bacon edition.
I should make a Kickstarter for all the books called that 50 Shades of Black, the Frying Bacon edition. I like that. Maybe that's what I'll call when we release the black. It'll be called the Bacon Frying Edition. I like that. Fan fiction. Terry and I have talked about this before. We each have our particular opinions on this, which is we don't mind fan fiction, but we would have to do so much goddamn work to lay out all the rules of our universes and all the rules of what you could write, what you can't write. That just sounds like a major pain in the ass.
If you actually care about that, that is. The only thing that I say that I don't care about fan fiction. You want to write fan fiction? Rock yourself right out. You try to make money off of my product, we're going to have a problem.
Right. And that was,
but if you're writing something and putting it out on the internet, slash fiction with whoever, knock yourself
Terry
out.
And Paul,
Rock on.
Slash fic with Terry and Paul.
It's on the internet already. Somebody wrote that.
What I was really talking about was inviting somebody to write in your world.
That's way too organized for
me. Like the folks that are doing, the Four Horsemen series, inviting a bunch of writers to come write in their world. That takes a lot of work because that's one of those situations where you have to kind of lay out all the ground rules and you have to curate it. You have to, oh my God, that's like a full-time job, depending.
One of the risks of allowing it is the problem that somebody can say you then stole something from them, stole their idea.
Right. And that's the other issue with why you got to kind of stay away from that. People try and send me book ideas and I just ignore them. Those are things I'm just not going to touch with a 10-meter cattle prod. And if it's a story idea in Soul and Beyond or The Black, I immediately throw it in the trash. Never saw it. It's the way it's going to be. Although it's not really that much of a problem, but I mean, I wouldn't rip off somebody else's idea. I might rip off some tenets of their idea, but we're
writers. We steal little bits and pieces of everything.
We steal everything. So it's not really that big of an issue. It's when they talk about that, they're really talking about TV writers or the ones who were most affected by that crap. Problem with fanfic is when you discover that /fic is not a more gory version. Yeah, isn't that kind of non-intuitive? Isn't that
the first time you run the first time you find out that that's the difference? Yeah, that's an eye-opening moment for you.
Yeah, see, that's just non-intuitive. I think they named that wrong completely. Why would you call it /fic?
I don't know.
Never
Maybe it's because
understood
it's
that.
Kirk/Spock. There's a slash in between. Maybe that's why it's called /fic.
Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea.
And there is a ton of Kirk Spock /fic.
There
is a ton of
sickos. Just sickos. So and all these are the most popular ones is Spock the Dom. Is that how that works? Spock's got Kirk up in the gimp suit and is going all Vulcan on him. Does the penis death grip?
It's not the nerve pinch, it's the ball pinch.
I can't believe I said that. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Here we go. I have an idea for you. Is my least favorite thing to hear when someone knows I'm a writer. If that idea is not call this guy so you can pay lots of money, I don't need that idea. Yeah, I don't like it either. Okay, Tony says name / other name pairing convention is why. So you were right.
Touch my ears, Jim.
Oh! It's the penis death grip. Are you gripping the penis or is the penis gripping you like a dolphin's? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. What? Went to a con once and I had a Jack Daniels t-shirt. Apparently it meant a lot to the female Stargate groupies.
I wonder if they thought Jack Daniels was the character. His name was Jack, but it wasn't Daniels. Now, see, Daniel was the other guy that was in this. So you had Jack and then you had Daniel. Maybe Jack Daniels is some kind of weird combination of the two.
Drew says, I thought the penis death grip was just called a male going through puberty.
Okay. When you're thinking about the penis death grip, you need to go ahead and have the original Star Trek music from when Kirk and Spock are fighting on the Pon Farr episode.
What are you doing? Wrestling with my penis. It's winning. If that is the actual definition of the penis death grip, I have bad news for you. I don't think men ever get over that. It may start at puberty, but I think it's a lifelong thing.
No, Jack and Dan. I don't think so. Let's go ahead and get Samantha Carter into this. Then we can have some interesting fiction.
Yeah.
Samantha, can you fix this device for me? Oh yes, Jack, I can fix that.
We're too salty for her kids.
She's wise. She keeps the earphones in because, sooner or later, we're just going to go completely out there.
Because it's kind of what we do.
It kind of is.
I still love this penis death grip thing. I'm thinking somebody needs to write that in erotica if they haven't already. Of course, it already exists. We just don't know about it. Now I'm interested to see what would happen if I type in penis death grip on Wikipedia or on Google.
I think that would totally be a great band name.
Oh, yes, it would actually. Penis death grip. I like it.
I'm pretty sure death grip has been used as part of a name before. I seem to vaguely remember something about that.
Death grip hasn't killed mine yet. Must be doing something wrong. Veronica says, I don't need them discovering this show and finding all the episodes.
Mom, we're listening to episode 10 of the Dead Robot Society.
Death Grips. Yes, Death Grips is a great band. I saw them live. They opened up for, I can't even remember who it was now. who they opened for. They were awesome. They were awesome live. It was great. I can't believe this. Penis death grip. How did we get on this? I blame me. I definitely blame me. So what else do you know, Terry?
Any questions, guys? Come on, this is your chance. We'll talk about anything. Penis death grip is on the table. You know, we could talk about anything.
The last
So this is
chicken
one of
in the
those
shop
ask
was-
us anything questions.
Oh, ask us. Ask Gus.
Five-finger death punch. That's what I was thinking of.
I don't think I really ever heard them. I've heard there's some of their songs, I'm sure, but I never really got into them. Oh, yeah. Okay. I know them. Yeah. Good cover of Bad Company. A good cover of Bad Company. Yeah. Death Grips is equal parts noise and music. I agree with that. It was even more so live. I just can't remember who the fuck they opened up for. It's going to bug me the rest of the day. God, I can't remember.
If you were to redo a series of yours, what would you change, if anything? That's not fair asking Paul that question, because the answer is everything. Everything is what Paul would change. He just said so for the last hour and a half.
That is not true. I would not change everything. There are some things I would definitely add. There's some things I would go and massage a little bit more. But
We're not allowed to mention the word massage in the same episode as penis death grip.
why? Why should that stop us? After all the other shit that we've said, why is that the sticking point? How did that become the sticking point after all the other crazy shit? Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What do you think about flash forward chapters in books or series?
I hate them.
All right.
I hate flashbacks. I hate flash forwards. Just tell the damn story. Paul totally disagrees with me, and I already know that.
It just depends on what you're doing and how you're writing it.
We just saw, I forget what was it. We started watching Star Trek Picard season 2. And what do they lead off with? A big space battle. And I go, yep, here we're going to see 48 hours earlier.
And sure enough, bang.
It may not have been 48, but it was something like that. Yeah. I'm like, oh, please, Jesus, just stop.
There's one episode of Altered Carbon where they did that, and it didn't bother me because of the reason they did it. There was a reason they did it. If there's no reason to do it, then it's a problem, I think. Oh, really? Really, Matt? Massage with an unhappy ending. Yeah, that's kind of where I go. Google cyanide and happiness, unhappy ending.
I'm not going to, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, I think I'll go with that. If I were to change anything about Soul and Beyond, I would go back, or Derelict, I would go back and I would rewrite Marines.
I don't think I would change anything, although I would definitely take, I think it was the Terra Gambit where I didn't cleanly end it and come up with a better place to end it than I did. I regret that. I don't regret any of the storyline. I wouldn't change any of the storyline, but I think that I probably chose the wrong place to end that long story.
I just would have gone back and made Marines less boring. It's a lot of setup, and I think that I'm more experienced now. I could probably do it better. Probably do it much better. But that's pretty much all I would change, I think. I don't think I'd change anything else. I'm kind of happy the way it ended and how it worked. On the subject of flash forwards, how about spoilers? I heard the twist in The Good Place before watching, and think I probably enjoyed it more wondering how they were going to get there.
Yeah, a teasing of something that's to come. I don't know that that's quite the same thing as a flash forward. If you're just, putting out a snippet of something that's coming coming later on in the season, it is something to look forward to. I guess I more have a problem with flashbacks than I have flash forwards if we really want to push to it. I don't really see that many flash forwards.
I don't either. And I think that's the reason why. You have to have I think you really do have to have a story that calls for it. And usually if they do it that way, it is to crack up the suspense and get you to keep watching or keep reading or whatever. How the fuck did we get here, basically? And I think there's times, especially with TV series and even book series, where I think the writers just get bored. They want to do something different.
So, Paul, I'm going to suggest one where they had flashbacks that I actually thought worked and I enjoyed. And that was season 1 of The Witcher.
Okay.
Did you see it?
No.
This is not a spoiler to tell you. Well, I guess it is kind of a spoiler to tell you this. You've got scenes from the main character, and you've got scenes from the girl. And the way they interspace them, it looks like they're taking place at the same time. But the scenes from The Witcher are from years earlier.
Right. Which is why my father stopped watching, because he was so fucking lost.
I finally figured it out. I was like halfway through the first season. I'm like, oh, this stuff with Gerard, that's actually in the past. Now I get it.
Yeah, kind of fucked that up.
Oh my God. Yellow Jackets. My wife watched Yellow Jackets and I saw some of it and I'm like, wow.
Parallel storytelling, I don't think, well, have I done that?
Only when you wrote your parallel novels taking place at the same time, maybe.
I guess, yeah. Once Arrival and Outbreak kind of mesh with the Black, because they all overlap one another. Well, I guess if they were done at the same time, it would have been parallel storytelling. Or if I went back and I put the Black in order, the first 3 books in order.
Sometimes the story is not that great in order.
I actually don't think it would do the Black justice, because I think it would actually ruin the suspense of what's going to happen. I think it's better to have it done piecemeal. Oh, fuck, what happened at the lab? Well, we heard something happen at the lab, and then we see the lab, and then, oh shit, something happened at the hospital. What happened to the hospital? Well, we have to get there. Oh, Cryptonomicon. Yes. Oh my God. So well done. So fucking well done. So well done. That is a damned good book. That is really 2 books. I guess that's the whole point of parallel storytelling, is you're basically writing 2 different stories that depend on one depends on the other. And you get to see both pieces of that. And you mentioned Arrow earlier. Arrow is basically real life Green Arrow kind of thing from the comics. And so in the first season, they're telling his modern stuff, but they're also showing him
on the island.
On the island, right? So they're kind of doing it, together in a way that makes sense, so that each thing piles on top of one another.
The most interesting part of what I saw with Arrow, and I watched it for a number of seasons. I don't remember why I stopped watching it. I think I got sidetracked into something else and just didn't catch up. But seeing Slade Wilson before he became the bad guy was interesting. They had a great actor playing Slade Wilson. I'm not sure that I can see any other actor playing the role after that.
I don't even remember it. I stopped watching, I think, 2nd season. I don't remember why either.
Well, he was the one on the island with him. So if you watch the island sequences, that guy became Slade Wilson.
All right, I got you.
Did I get his name right? Maybe yeah. Manu Bennett. It's the actor's name. And I can't get him out of my head in that role. He's just great.
Would you do parallel storytelling, Terry? Would you ever try that?
Maybe under the right circumstances. It would be hard for me to do that, though. That may be one of the most challenging things I ever tried if I did.
What I've thought about doing with quantum personality disorder is to meet G after he's disgraced. And while he's going through his story, in the present, so to speak, we get to find out how we got to this state. And so every few chapters, we'd flip back to the past and we'd see him raising Charlie and the things that are happening there. And then we'd switch back to the present, which is, Xi is being brought in to deal with these things after he's been disgraced. I thought about writing those two books that way, or writing that one book that way, because I think it would actually help me write each portion of the book, because they are so dependent on one another. And I really do think I want that prequel piece. But then again, you get books like Silence of the Lambs, where you not Manhunter, Red Dragon. In Red Dragon, the book, we don't really see anything that happened to Graham with Lecter. We get a few here's and there's, but we don't get anything from really what happened to get him there in Red Dragon. And the same thing with Silence of the Lambs. I've always wondered what that story looked like if you went back and read the original Will Graham catching Lecter, not having him in the sanitarium afterwards, but catching him. And they did it in the movie. They did it in the movie a little bit, but in the books, it's completely absent. And I always wondered, what that story would have looked like. And I'm kind of surprised in a way that Harris didn't write that. But then again, Red Dragon isn't about Hannibal Lecter. It's not. It's about Will Graham. It's about Will Graham, and it's about the Tooth Fairy. So it's a different kind of book, but it's like Handley 5. He's sitting there. He wants to know about Handley 5. What happened to Handley 5? We mention it. We give a few details, but we don't go into anything else. Is it a story that will work? Yes. Would it work as a parallel storytelling with Station 3? Fuck no. Because they have almost nothing in common besides characters. Wouldn't matter.
Tony says that Manu Bennett also played the Druid in the Shannara Chronicles, and he did. And when I watched the Shannara Chronicles, it was really hard to get him as Slade Wilson out of my head while watching him be the Druid.
Podcast them both at the same time. one week and the other the next week. So you do the parallel storytelling each week, or switching between the present and the past.
I totally want to see a movie where they take a couple of big name actors that are in similar genres, and in the course of the movie they cross paths, and they each make a cross appearance in the other one's movie, and then back to their own.
Sounds like something Marvel or DC would do.
Slade Wilson, Hitman Druid. That's not totally inaccurate. Al-Anon was, kind of your Hitman Druid.
Hitman Druid. New Spider-Man movie? What new Spider-Man movie? Which one?
The one that had alternate universe Spider-Man in it.
Is that No Way Home?
Yeah.
Or the other one, there was another Into the Spider-Verse or something. I haven't seen either of them.
No, Spider-Verse was great. It was a comic book version of it, and it was awesome. And so was No Way Home. It was a very good movie. He says in there, he's like, "Hey man, I'm in the Avengers." They're like, "Is that a band? You're in a band?"
Well, gonna brag about something. It helps that the people around you know what the fuck you're talking about. Context is nice.
It's
Context
true.
always helps.
All the other Spider-Man movies were not part of it, so they had no idea what the Avengers were.
There was that time Urkel ended up blasting off from his show and landing on another for a crossover way back in the day. Oh my fucking God. How desperate do you have to be to keep a show on the air? Have fucking Urkel jump in.
It's not quite the same thing, but when CSI Las Vegas and 2.5 Men exchanged writers for an episode was pretty amusing.
Yeah, that's just wrong. Full House Family Matters crossover. That sounds possible. I think. I never watched either show, so I have no idea, but that sounds possible.
It's been too long since I've watched either one.
They were just not on my no. One word of Urkel, and I was like, "Yep, I'm turning that shit off and never watching it again."
Did I do that?
And of course, Snoop Dogg helped him launch his brand, Purple Urkel weed in California. So if you want to get if you want to give Urkel some money, go order your weed. Go get some Purple Urkel. Pretty sure it was Full House. God, so much brain damage in daytime, nighttime TV. Fuck me. So much brain damage.
Any more questions, guys?
Podcast them both at the same time. That's a dick move. That's a dick move. You were going to ask what?
The answer is, of course, yes.
God. It's so hopeless. Yeah, Matt, it's better not to know. It's better not to know. Go look up Urkel on YouTube, watch 5 seconds of that, and then, fall over dead. Urkel is a really obnoxious, nerdy character on a sitcom, and he eventually took over the sitcom, is my understanding. It basically became the Urkel show. He is just obnoxious as all fucking hell. Go look him up on YouTube. Go take a 5-second look at that shit.
Veronica says that there's an SNL skit about a gritty reboot of Family Matters. That's like what they're doing with Fresh Prince. And I was going to mention that my wife is watching the reboot of Fresh Prince. And I'm like, yeah, that's a totally different way of telling that story.
They made it kind of gangsterish, right? It's more
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit more crimey.
Well, I wouldn't say crimey, but it's a little gritty. It's a lot grittier than the comedy.
It has violence and not just comedy, essentially.
It deals head on with issues like violence, transgenderism, racism, all of that. It deals with it head on, and it's got a lot of conflict. So yeah.
So not a sitcom.
It is not a sitcom.
Matt says, so choice Urkel or /fic? Urkel or /fic or /wrists? I have a third option.
So I think that's actually only part of the issue. It needs to be Urkel / something. So were we talking Urkel / Paul /fic here? Where Urkel says, did I do that after, the Vulcan penis grip?
I bet there's a porno. I bet money there's a fucking porno with Urkel, with an Urkel like. I bet fucking money on it. Urkel Stefan? Stefan? Who's Stefan? Need ear bleach again. Urkel on cool Urkel action.
Oh, two of them at the same time. Did I do that? Oh my gosh.
Oh, yikes. Oh, yeah. It's going to be my phrase for the next bedroom antics. Yeah. Some places you just can't come back from. What's my tagline? Some mysteries shouldn't be solved. Yeah.
There were some things that man was never meant to know.
Oh, Stefan was Urkel's cool version of himself. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't have the context either. Don't feel bad, Matt. I don't have the context either. I just know the character. I don't know any of the other characters in the show or anything really about the show other than that obnoxious thing walking around being obnoxious. It's just me.
There are some reboots that just shouldn't happen. Seriously. Like lots of them.
Like most of them. Somebody posted, I can't remember who it was on the screenwriters I follow, that there's an unaired version of Love Boat where somebody eats a bad oyster, everybody gets sick, and Captain Stubing turns into a zombie. I was like, I want to see that episode. That episode doesn't exist, but it should. Now sitting here, hugging my knees, rocking back and forth, and mumbling, "There's no place like home." Well, that sounds like an end to a Dead Robot Society show.
And on that note,
Well, folks, if you've got a comment about this show, you can send an email to show@debrobotssociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of Dead Robot Society Facebook group. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs and too goddamn many cats. We have to thank our wonderful host, Podhoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you want to support the podcast, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content like this live show, where you can, go on air, ask us questions, give us shit, the usual kind of thing. At the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jagir, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you, patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And I come back and there's a cat staring at me instead of Terry. Why? Just why?
Because he's cute.
Okay. Before we sign off, we have to do one more thing. Terry, you're a junkie.
Completely and utterly agree.
Actually, Terry and I are both junkies. We are caffeine junkies. And fortunately, we have a wonderful dealer. Go to visit corpsecoffee.com. Check out their boutique teas, their wonderful coffees, their webcomic. Tell them DRS sent you and get the dead in your cup. corpsecoffee.com. No mortal brew. And with that, we are going to get the hell out of here. And let y'all
folks,
get
if
back
you've
to
got
your
those
Saturday.
earplugs in to make sure your kids don't hear this episode, you can finally take those suckers out.
Fuck you say. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I'm glad you're back in the swing of writing too, Drew.
Wait, should we mention swing when we're talking about slash fic?
No. However, Matt, now you need to go Google Urkel porn.
Oh, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Do it. I don't want it on my search history, but it's fine in yours. All right, folks, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.